As you know, a lot has been going on. Things have been hitting the fan with the Trump-Russia investigation, the Paradise Papers have surfaced, and we have found more data on GorillaGate that may or may not tie in with these items. But I cannot say for certain when you'll be hearing about that from us, because we are still sifting through it and waiting till we have all the facts. But we do have a more pressing issue for you in the meantime, as the BBC have found themselves in hot water once again after the United Nations have given the US toy company Mattel advice on how they can update one of the shows that they currently own. According to the Daily Mail, Thomas the Tank Engine is to become gender balanced with more female trains, an African character, and episodes abroad, in support of United Nations development goals. The overhaul will see departure of 2 male characters to make way for female ones. Engines Henry and Edward will move to make way for Nia and Rebecca. So 2 of 3 dot points are the same thing. Great writing. And Thomas will also embark on adventures around the world for the new series. I know this sounds like a horrible mixture of corporatism, globalism, and political correctness, so just to set the record straight, Mattel had consulted with other groups as well, but most importantly, had been going to the United Nations for advice, instead of them going out of their way to tamper with a children's show. And now that we're up to speed on how this happened, let's take a closer look at what they came up with.
Down the tracks.
Hello, I'm Nia.
Her name is Nia.
Her name is Nia.
All the way from Kenya. Nia is a great adventurer. Hey, Nia, look at those funny striped horses.
They're zebras, Thomas.
I knew that. Nia is always there to help.
2 engines are better than 1, Thomas.
And she'll be traveling all the way around the world with me to join the Steam Team. Full steam together!
As I was saying, I have an important announcement for all of you.
I'm slowing down. Hello, sir. I'm sorry, sir. I miscalculated how long it would take me to stop by quite a lot.
I'll say, you nearly bumped me off the rails. I wasn't expecting you until tomorrow. Nia, Percy, Thomas, Emily, this is Rebecca.
Hello!
Welcome. Hi, Rebecca. Hello, my friend. Hi, everyone.
Those are lanterns for the New Year celebrations. We have a big party. I love New Year.
God help us all. So, there are train tracks on the Great Wall of China for some reason. And I can totally relate to the Fat Controller's reaction to getting his car hit by a train. But I don't really want to talk about the engine known as Yongbao. I mean, Jesus Christ, what were they thinking with that guy? But while I try to process this, let's hear what other people have thought of the makeover. Former Tory Minister Anne Wildercombe has chimed in with, "I can't believe people are being so po-faced about Thomas. Children aren't interested in these sorts of issues." Stuart Heritage from The Guardian has posed the question, "Why must I expose my kids to all these sexy trains?" And according to Anon from the comments section, "The BBC are trying to brainwash your children." So since this is such a hot button issue, let's break it down, shall we? Starting with this whole gender balancing and neutrality thing. Really, I don't have a problem with it, but how is it necessary for a show about trains? Because trains have no goddamn gender! I mean, Thomas, for example, didn't choose the name of Thomas or what to identify as. As far as I'm aware, it has all been projection from the narrator. I could be wrong, and if that is the case, then feel free to point out an example of Thomas explicitly stating how it identifies. But it has to be post-2008, because that was when Thomas finally had a voice, and before that, every scrap of dialogue was also projection from the narrator. And some further food for thought about the previously male-dominated Tidmouth shed. I realize this might be a bit of a bizarre statement to make and could easily be taken out of context, but in today's society, machines are inherently feminine. I mean, when people talk about them, it's all stuff like, "You want to take her out for a spin? Ain't she a beauty?" Or "Listen to her purr." Or,
"She is one well-endowed lady. I'd like to get my hands on her ample nacelles, if you'll pardon the engineering parlance."
So in a world where femininity is projected onto mechanical devices, could a show about masculinity being projected onto trains be a statement in its own right? Oh, hey, there's my notes. As for the first African train, I cannot look past the fact that Nia has the same coloured face as all the other tank engines. Ironic that they are trying to both diversify and whitewash the show at the same time. I mean, what the hell is with that? What signals are you trying to send here? But regardless of their skin colours, I have to wonder how much bombarding children with these stereotypes and caricatures is going to help their worldview.
We have a big party!
But I get why the changes had to be made. I mean, on one hand, they've probably run out of ideas of what to do on the island of Sodor, but also they want to survive into the 21st century. As the Telegraph states, the series has been criticized in the past as sexist, classist, and anti-environmentalist, and that last one definitely has truth to it. And I'd like to see how they tackle it in a show where almost all the characters run on coal, and the engine named Diesel is portrayed as arrogant and scheming, at one point even going around trying to murder the other trains with a robot claw. Yeah, that movie kind of happened. But personally, none of this is any skin off my nose, since I stopped paying attention when they started animating. I confess that when I was within the target demographic, I didn't find it to be the most visually stimulating show, but as I grew up, I started to see the charm of basically having Ringo playing with a train set. And before I found out that it was based on the Railway series written by Reverend Wilbert Vere Awdry, I'd even speculated that they might have just hidden a microphone in Ringo's basement and made a show about it. But alas, now the magic is gone. Thanks, globalists. I'm Connor O'Loughlin, and this is Alternative Factors. Until next time, stay woke, people.